Okay, take two. What's up, guys? It's me, Ashley, your friendly neighborhood book dragon. We're here and we're going to talk about all of my unread books. As you, well, you don't know yet because that video is coming later, but I am currently doing a readathon where I try to read as many books on my TBR as possible in the month of August because it's been a really slow reading year and I just, there's tons. We've got a cart. We've got piles over here. It's a whole thing. Yes, I know I buy too many books. Alright, so I figure, first things first, let's start with the book cart. I just got this. I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. I don't know how to do this. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do, start from the bottom because it's closest to me. So first I have The Phantom Prince My Life with Ted Bundy by Elizabeth Kendall. Hopefully you know who Ted Bundy is. Elizabeth Kendall is the girlfriend who actually turned him in. This book, I believe, is the basis for a new Amazon Prime series. That's not why I got it. I'm just fascinated with true crime. But this is basically her story of, what it was like with him. I'm really excited to read it. Also, really creepy thing. Somebody told me that I look like her, but I mean, I guess on the bright side, at least she turned him in. But it still weirds me out that somebody said I look like the girlfriend of a serial killer. Moving on. So next, I have, this is one of those, everybody's reading it, so I have to read it picks. I have Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. My fiance, Josh, was really into the series, and I heard so many good things about the story, and I just kind of found myself thinking, hey, I would like to read this. That was totally delayed reaction, but this just fell, and it's just like, it's going to be a very awkward video, but keep with me, guys. So I bought the book because I would very much like to read the series before I watch the show. I know that everybody says it's different. I still need to do it because that's just the kind of book dragon I am. So next we have Razzle Dazzle, The Battle for Broadway by Michael Riedel. How do you guys pronounce that? I forget which one this is because I have several books about Broadway on my TBR. I love Broadway. I'm a theater nerd. I'm very nerdy. I'm trying not to come across as abrasive or aggressive, but yeah, I'm awkward. How many times can I say that in a video? I wish we could have a counter down there. Maybe I'll figure out how to do it. I'm trying to remember what this is. Oh, it's about Broadway sort of collapsed, and this is about I don't even know how to pronounce it. Basically, the organization who saved Broadway. Theaters were collapsing, and they took it and they sort of transformed it and built at least the buildings and, the street into what it is today. So, that is really cool. I'm very bad at this. I'm learning. How many times can I say that in a video? Please don't tune out. I'm gonna try to get better from here on out. Alrighty. So next is a book that I have been wanting to read for a very long time. I'm very fascinated. That's a word. Hold on. I'm very fascinated with the natural world. That's what I was trying to say. It's My Life with Chimpanzees by Jane Goodall. And I'm very fascinated with learning about this earth and the world and the creatures within it. And Jane Goodall is one of the most respected naturalists in the entire world. And I have never read one of her books. I've always wanted to. And from what I understand, that was her first book. So, that's what I'm starting. Alright, so next I have a book called Shell Shocked by Jennifer L. Schiff. This is a Sanibel Island mystery. So this is a part of a series. It's actually the last book in a series. I want to say number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they're on that shelf, so I was counting. This is number 5 in the series. It's very interesting. It's about a woman who moves to Sanibel after losing her job and getting a divorce, and she works as a reporter and a shell collector. And basically there have been all these mysteries around the island, and it involves, her best friend. She kind of turns into a part-time crime reporter. And there's this detective who, at this point in the series, I am dying for them to get together, even though she has this gorgeous scientist boyfriend. I don't like him that much. I don't think he's that great. I'm sure he's fine, but he's not as good for her as the detective. They're a really cute couple, and by cute I mean really hot. So basically in this one, it's another mystery about a shell. Basically what happens is she finds a body on the beach holding a very rare shell. Surprise, just as most of the others have had to do with shells or creatures and dead bodies. She tends to get herself way too into them, and the last one she almost got killed. It was a whole thing, but I love her. So I got that because I love those. I've always been fascinated by Sanibel Island because my family used to go there. I'm realizing my voice sounds very phlegmy today. I'm very paranoid about how I sound. Okay, enough. Hold on. Calm down. I need to just stop thinking about my appearance. This is about the books, guys. But, yeah. Anyways, hold on. Let me regroup for a second. Alright. I think I'm good. I think I got it. I'm still awkward, but we're just gonna go with it. So next book is a kind of a Bookstagram made me do it read. I discover most of my books on Bookstagram. It's my favorite thing in the world. I do post occasionally. I'm not as intensive a Bookstagrammer as others, but I think that everybody else's posts are so beautiful. It's my favorite part of getting on Instagram. I'm a little obsessed. But that's how I heard about this book. So it's called The Final Girls by Riley Sager. And this is the first of the 3 books she's written. Honestly, when I read it, I thought maybe it was a preface for this really weird, like, B horror film that I once saw a preview for. It's not, but still, I love a good thriller. So from what I understand, I don't remember the synopsis of many of these. That's how little I have been reading this year. Basically, it's about these girls that are survivors, and the survivors are referred to as the final girls, and they start dying, and it's a whole mystery. Well, actually, it's way more than that. But basically, she has no memory of that night. And her therapist is trying to make her relive it. And the police officer who helped her through it is trying to make her relive it because the girls have started turning up dead. And if they don't remember, they could all die. So, we'll see who the final girls is. Eventually, I'm hoping to get to reading that soon. Okay, so next I have Beneath the Tamarind Tree by Ashleigh. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but it's a whole thing. So this is about the girls who were kidnapped by Boko Haram in 2014. This, the author was one of the frontline reporters, and she talked to the first girls that came back. Some came back sooner than others, and she sort of got a first-hand account from them, and it's very in-depth. It also touches on how the government handled things, and I'm very interested into reading it. Not because I think it's a thrilling thing or anything, but I like to learn about events, and I like to learn about countries and how things are handled. And I remember seeing this and thinking, I have to read this, as I do with most books, but that one in particular. So this next book is another nonfiction. It is called Mud and Stars: Travels in Russia with Pushkin, Tolstoy, and Other Geniuses of the Golden Age by Sarah Wheeler. I am always down for a good book about books. about travel, about involving other authors, and so I was so excited to find this. Basically, the author travels to Russia. She wants to figure out what Russia is like outside of the news. She wants to know what the real Russia is like, and so she travels and she uses the works of very famous Russian authors from the Golden Age as her guide point. And that just sounds like a good time to me. So I am so excited to read that one. I know it's not the greatest synopsis, but that is literally what it's about. And she follows like Dostoevsky, and she uses Russian cooking books. Basically, her entire journey, from my understanding, is based out of books. Which, hey, what better way to travel? Alright, so the next book, another true crime book. Guys, I'm obsessed. To no one's surprise, it is about another it's not about another serial killer. It's about the same serial killer. I live in Washington, and it's crazy to me how many serial killers have come out of this area, and I think knowing that fact has made me fascinated with true crime, just because I have to understand. I want to know how that came to be a thing, because it's crazy to me that my home state is really point for all these. I really hope it's not anymore, but apparently it used to be. Anyways, it's another book about Ted Bundy. So this is The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. This is about her knowledge of Bundy. They worked together at a crisis center in Seattle back in 1971, I believe it was. And basically she knew him and she didn't think he was capable of that, and when she found out who he was, she had to get the bigger picture. So this is what she learned when she tried to research the man that she knew, and the story of what he was like when she worked with him. I realized that whole serial killer rant was a little bit weird. I swear I'm not crazy. I think I might cut that back out. Alright, so next I have Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. I'm gonna be honest, when I first bought this, it was because I heard it involved phoenixes, and it was also because my fiance wanted to read it. But I'm actually now intrigued to read it. From what I understand, it's about these two brothers. I forget their names, hold on. Emil and Brighton. Basically, they've always wanted to be a part of this group called Spellwalkers, and it's sort of a vigilante group. But on their 18th birthday, they are attacked by what's known as a specter, and the attack sort of leads them into this whole world of trying to become spellwalkers, researching what really goes on, what the truth is, and they kind of, I guess, one of them wants to be a spellwalker more than the other, and they sort of figured out that one of them has what it takes, one of them is not, and it's not actually the one that wants it. That's literally all the synopsis said. Like I said, guys, I know nothing about this book. I just know there are phoenixes, and I love me some phoenixes. Hello, Harry Potter obsession. So, that's that book. Alright, so next up, another one of my obsessions, is Disney. So this is the Disney story by Aaron H. Goldberg. This is basically a decade by decade look about how Disney came to be the empire that it is today. As you may have already guessed, I'm obsessed with Disney. I love Disneyland. It's my favorite place in the world. And this is sort of an in-depth look at it. I do already know a lot about that journey, but I always love reading about it. It's always, you know, a good feeling for me to read about Disney, to read about what it's like and how it came to be and the people behind it. And so I just thought this would be a good read. Maybe I'll learn something new that I never knew before. Okay, so we are on quite the nonfiction roll. Thing is, I like nonfiction. I like books of all kinds, but I have been in sort of a nonfiction-y mood this year. So this next book is called Emperors of the Deep by William McKeever. It is all about sharks. Cue the Jaws music. I love the ocean. I'm fascinated by creatures below, beneath the surface. I don't know what I'm saying. again, being awkward. I'm just trying to do this, and hopefully I am not as annoying as I feel like I'm being right now. Basically, this touches on why sharks are not the monsters that they have been painted in the movie industry. And it's basically a look at the species and different, different species of shark is what I meant to say. I swear, I know how to talk, guys. It's just sometimes awkward. Jeez, really? Can we get the counter thing down here? Basically, it's an in-depth look at them, and so that was really interesting to me because I like learning about creatures of the ocean, and you would be amazed how few books there are for adults about the creatures of the ocean. I'm serious. It's crazy. Can somebody please write more because I want to know. Alright, so the next book is Incomparable by Brie and Nikki Bella, who are the Bella sisters, are the Bella twins from the WWE world. They were on the reality show Total Divas, and now they have their show Total Bellas, which coincidentally is how I became such a fan of theirs. I have a guilty pleasure. I like reality show. I know that it's not real. I know that it's all made up. But I just find it fascinating. And so I have been watching tons of clips of their show. I've never actually had the time to see it. I don't watch much actual TV. What I learned from clips on YouTube. But this is their memoir. And I'm really interested to read it. I always love a good memoir because basically I like learning about people's stories. That's just one of my favorite things. Okay, so this next book I'm actually extremely excited to read. I'm extremely excited to read all of, but this one is probably one of my top ones I'm looking forward to. I bought this earlier this year. I wanted to get more informed on the Black Lives Matter movement. I honestly wanted to be informed and educated. I wanted to hear people's stories, not just how they've been painted in the media. And so I got this book when we went to Barnes & Noble, and it's Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful cover? So from what I understand, this is a group of essays about her experience being a woman in the feminist movement, and while also being, let me rephrase, it's essays about being a black woman in this time we're living in, and how that movements, even the most expansive of movements, sometimes forget people, and that's very interesting to me, and I'm very much looking forward to reading that. Alright, so keeping in theme of learning about movements is this next book called Yell Meets Women. Yes, another nonfiction. Wow, I've got a lot more of those than I thought I did. But this is by Annie Gardner Perkins. I almost wanted to say it like in a French way, like it's a whole thing. I'm very bad at pronouncing names. But this is about the first year that women were ever allowed at Yale University. Like I said, I love to learn, and nonfiction's always fascinated me, and it's crazy to me that women wouldn't have been allowed there, but again, I know that was a very different time. And basically this is about the experience of the first undergraduates that were females as they went to Yale. I know I should be explaining all these amazing nonfiction books a lot better, but I'm coming to the realization I'm not that eloquent. Hopefully these books will help me be better. I know I need to be more educated. I know I need to learn more. That being said, this next book, it's another nonfiction. I am so excited to read it. I'm not gonna lie, I picked it up because I've been obsessed with Hamilton, and I've just been dying to read it forever. I bet you can guess what it is. This is Ron Chernow's Alexander Hamilton, which is the book that Lin-Manuel Miranda based his musical off of. And I am so excited to read that. I honestly have the idea, I want to read this, watch Hamilton, listen to Hamilton, get a whole Hamilton vibe. I have a couple Hamilton shirts I think I'll wear while I'm reading it too. But good news, guys, that's also the last nonfiction for at least this part of the card. Okay, so this next book is a thriller, and I'm so excited about it. I used to be obsessed with thrillers. There was a point where it was all that I read. I've sort of branched out since then. But this is 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. So basically it is about this bookseller and mystery, aficionado, who at one point he composed a list of fiction's 8 most unsolvable blah 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 blah. I swear I can talk. Hold on. Take 2. Of the 8 most unsolvable murders in fiction. That was probably a better way to say it. And basically he spends every night at home reading, and at one point, so the police show up on his door because someone has started to commit the murders mirroring. One day I'm gonna learn to talk, guys. Alright, hold on. Somebody basically starts killing and mirroring all of the murders on his list, and it's come to the point where the murderers know too much about his life, even though he spends every night at home reading. So the police show up and they ask him for his help, and it's kind of a race to catch this killer, 1, before he kills again, and 2, before he kills Malcolm, which is the main character of this book. I realized I forgot to say his name. Okay, so these next 2 books are once again books that, I'm gonna be honest, were Bookstagram/BookTube made me do it reads. I saw them on both, and both sounded so interesting to me, so that's what I'm doing. The first one is They Went Left by Monica Hess, I believe is how you say that, and then The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. So They Went Left is the story of a girl who has just been liberated from a concentration camp, the Rosen. I am 99% sure I am pronouncing that wrong. Concentration camp. Back during the Holocaust, and basically what happened was the last thing she remembers before the camp was her and her brother were put into this line. The rest of their family was sent to the last line, which was all of the people who were sent to their deaths. And she promised her brother, because they wound up getting separated, she promised him that she basically said, A to Z, count your alphabet, and then we will find each other. And so, it was Abek to Zofia, because her name is Zofia. When I find you again, we will fill our alphabet, which is they will find each other, they will tell their stories. The last time she saw her brother was talking through the fence at the concentration camp. So this book is basically her journey to find him, and she starts to worry that she will never find him. I have been getting more into historical fiction, and I hear that this is a beautifully written one, so I'm excited to read that. And as for the Authenticity Project, this is a story of Julian Jessup, who's an artist, and one day he writes in a plain journal and leaves it in a cafe because he wants to know people's stories. And basically this is, I believe there's 5 different people who write in the journal along the way, and it kind of pulls together their stories. Again, tying back to my fascination with learning people's stories. I'm well aware it's fiction, but still, I love a good search for people's stories. So the next book is Hunted by the Sky by Tanaz Batena. I believe that's how you say that. I once again believe that I am totally wrong. I apologize to all of these authors whose names I am completely butchering. But basically, this is the story of Gull, who is a girl who was born with a star-shaped birthmark on her arm. And basically, in the kingdom in which she lives, the girls with these are hunted down and they're taken to... I believe it's because of a prophecy. The king's soldiers always come and take them. Well, one day she witnesses the murders of her parents because they are trying to protect her because she has a star-shaped birthmark on her arm. She was in hiding, so she escapes and she's rescued by this tribe of women who bring her in and teach her warrior magic. And basically she becomes consumed with vengeance. She's like, I have to kill the king. I have to, avenge my parents. It's, your average... not average, but it's a good old revenge plot. But basically she meets this boy who is the son of a soldier. His father's dying, and while his whole life all he has wanted to be is a soldier to the king, he meets Gull and they fall in love, and he becomes encased in her quest for vengeance. And it's sort of gets very, very intense. He never thought this world could exist. And so basically this is the story of them and how they try to avenge her parents' death. So I'm very interested to read that. So next up is Joe's Boys by Louisa May Alcott. I'm holding the books all close to the screen because I'm sitting kind of far away and I can't tell if you guys can read them all. I'm hoping this is focusing on it. But basically, I love Little Women. I just discovered it last year. I don't know how it took me so long. I am ashamed. And I also love the movie adaptation, but that's a whole nother rant. So I've read the first 2 books in her series that have to do with the Little Women characters. And basically, this is the 3rd one. So it takes place at Joe's... the school that Joe opened with her husband, Professor Bear, and it's about the boys that you met in the 2nd one, and more about their journey and how they grow up. And it's crazy, things get a lot more complicated than they have before, because it says in here, as they experience shipwreck and storm and disappointment and even murder. So that tells me things are going to go down in this book. I'm so excited to read it. She's an amazing author. Alright, so like I said before, I always love to find an author who's from Washington State, or my home state. Luckily, they're not all about serial killers. There are some happy ones too. And these next ones are all by the brilliant Debbie May Comber. What's really cool to me about her is the town she lives in is the town my dad was born in. I just think that is the coolest thing ever. Or he wasn't born there, but his family lived there for a very, very long time. It's kind of where he grew up. But she writes all these beautiful, enchanting romances. So the ones that I have right here are Cottage by the Sea, Alaska Skies, and... oh wait, this one's not Debbie this isn't Debbie May Comber. This is Lee Tobin McLean. But it kind of has the same vibe. It's sort of like the Hallmark movies of books. They're just, when you're looking for a lighthearted, they're not necessarily all good. There's obviously conflict and resolution within these books. They're romances. How could they not be? But they're very, laid back reads. So when I want to read something a little less intense, I go to authors like this. So I'm so excited. I wonder if this author lives in, it doesn't look like this author is from Washington, but that's okay. Her book is still going to be great. I got very confused for a second there. Point is, they're great. I love those books, and I'm thoroughly addicted to Debbie May Comber. I used to always think it was weird that was all my grandma read. Now I get it. I really get it. Hey, guess what? I have more thrillers. So this next book is by Audrey Niffenegger, who is the author of The Time Traveler's Wife. It's called Her Fearful... Still can't talk. Working on it, guys. Her Fearful Symmetry. And basically, This book is about two sisters who receive a letter that their great aunt, who they never knew, has died, and they've been left alone in an apartment. The condition of it is they have to live there for a year before they sell it, and I forget what the second condition. Oh, the second condition is their parents can never enter it. So they go there and they basically meet all of these very eclectic residents, and they start to realize there are secrets in this place. And they kind of get caught up in this world they never knew about, and it's very interesting how the year turns out. That's all I know from the synopsis. I'm gonna be honest, this is another book that's been on my TBR cart forever. I'm honestly, like I said, such a bad reading year, guys. But that leads me to yet another book that I'm looking forward to read, which is The Sacred Bones by Michael Barnes. Now, basically, from what I understand, this is about an archaeologist who is called to Jerusalem to identify a skeleton, and it's basically the first ever full skeleton of a crucified man. And she begins her investigation, and the city is sort of in a weird's a nice way to put it, in a time of, I don't know the right word, but I want to say chaos and upheaval. And basically she's trying to do this, and as she's doing this, she has like police leaning on her and the Vatican leaning on her because people believe that it is the body of Christ. And she starts discovering things that would be that she doesn't believe they would let her allow to see, and it kind of gets to the point where she starts to discover facts, and they are pressuring her, and basically it becomes a point where she fears for her life because they don't want this information out, and she comes with the information. So they might, I guess the way it's phrased is she believes that they will not let her or the information ever see the light of day. Alright, so the next book is called The Word Exchange by Elena Gradam. And I'm so sorry. I really am so bad with names. But basically this is about a woman named Anana who works at a dictionary printing company with her father. And basically they are working on the last ever edition that will ever be printed, because basically the whole world is relying on the internet and memes, and, you know, print has sort of become obsolete. But her father randomly disappears, and the only thing that's left behind is the word Alice. And she discovers that she, knowing her father, knows that it's a clue and decides that she must follow it. She has to investigate it. So she recruits, I believe it's her coworker, to help her find this, and that sort of goes down a rabbit hole. And from what I understand, it becomes sort of a cautionary tale to her, because it sounds as if her dad has gotten mixed up in something that is way bigger than all of them, because he's trying to stop what is known as the word flu, which is basically the dying of language. And I don't know about you, but that just sounds like a real awesome read to me. Okay, so this next book is probably the shortest book on my TBR, and it's probably been on there the longest because I bought it 5 years ago. So this book is How Mount Pilatus Came by Its Name, Myths and Legends by Martin Siever. So when I graduated high school, I was lucky enough that I got to go on a tour around Europe, and one of the places we went was Mount Pilatus in Switzerland. It's beautiful. Highly recommend going if you ever get the chance. And they had this book in the gift shop. I am all about myths and legends, and so basically this is kind of just informational about all of the legends of the mountain. And I bought it because I want to read it, but I have just forgot that I had it, so I did not read it. Okay, so next is another book that's been on my to-read list forever. I actually only bought it recently, but I've been wanting to read it forever, and that is Molokai by Alan Brenner. I have been so intrigued to read this. So basically it is about a 7-year-old Hawaiian girl. So basically her father travels a lot, and she's always dreamed of seeing the world like him. He's a merchant seaman, but then one day she gets this rose-colored mark on her arm, and basically she's thought to have leprosy, so she's sent away to this colony that is just for people who have leprosy, and it's a quarantine land. It's on the island of Molokai, hence the title. As my fiance would say, roll credits. He's a movie guy. It's a thing. And she's supposed to be put to death there, but what she actually discovers is a very different world where she is in fact not a cursed person. And this is sort of her story about that, and I'm so excited to read. I've never read a Hawaii-based book before. Never read a book about a Hawaiian, character, and I'm just excited about it. It just brings me happy. It makes me feel all sunny inside. Is that weird? I know I'm weird. Please, if you're here, don't judge me too much. I will say though, the next book is actually a fairly common book, and it's just a book I've been dying to read forever, and that is Toni Morrison, The Source of Self-Regard, Selected Essays, Speeches, and Meditation. So this book won the Nobel Prize in Literature, and that's so, so cool to me. And basically, I have always wanted to read Toni Morrison's work, and I was trying to decide which one to go with first. I feel like a work where it's just her voice about the world. It's not a fiction work, because from what I have been told, the ones I've been told about are all fiction. I wanted to read this one first. I felt like it would give me a very good sense of the author before I dove into her other work, and I'm so excited to read this. We are almost done with the second shelf, guys. Well, I use the term almost very, very loosely. Guys, the next books that I pulled off the cart, they're all nonfiction. Please, I swear, bear with me, I do read other things. But first, let me show you this. It's another book that I got on that trip to Europe. It is Greek mythology, cosmogony, gods, heroes, and their worship, the Trojan War, and the Odyssey. I bought this in Greece. I believe it was Athens. I never got around to reading it. I don't know why. Honestly, I did not read much until the last couple of years, and then I realized I had these, and I'm so ashamed. Don't put me in reader jail. Okay, now that I'm done being dramatic, or I'm not done. Let's face it, I'm never done. But let's get back to the book, shall we? So the first book is We Bought a Zoo by Benjamin Mee. This is basically the story of the family that bought a domestic zoo and they rehabilitated it. I'm not gonna lie, I bought this because I loved the movie. I thought it was a beautiful story and I wanted to read it. I'm hoping that it's a good book because I love animals and I love stories like this, and I'm so excited. The next book is about something I grew up watching a lot of Hallmark shows. One of them being Little House on the Prairie. I loved Little House on the Prairie, and so I found Melissa Gilbert's book called Prairie Tale. This is her memoir about the show and growing up, and she also, I believe, went through some drug and alcohol addiction. It's about her story through that too, and I'm very interested to read that. I'm always interested to learn about the actors I've grown up watching. So that is why I bought that one. This next book, it was actually gifted to me for Christmas, I want to say 2 years ago. Another memoir. It's sort of a beat out copy, but I don't mind. All books are great books. This book is Storyteller, The Life of Roald Dahl by Donald Sturrock. I love learning about famous authors and writers, and it's just so cool to me. I don't know why I'm whispering, but that was a book that was on my list. I asked for it for Christmas, and I was so grateful that I got that. This next book is called The Street Where I Live by Alan J. Lerner. And basically, it is about, where are my words? Hold on, sorry. I forget what role he was. Oh, he was the lyricist. So he created the lyricist for Broadway shows like My Fair Lady, Gigi, and Camelot. And so it's his story, and basically you meet, he interacts with people like Moss Hart, Fritz Lowe, Julie Andrews. God bless Julie Andrews. And a ton of other people. And basically it's how he came to know the people of Broadway, how he created these shows. And that just sounds so cool to me because, again, I am obsessed with Broadway. Have I used the word obsessed as much as I used the word awkward? We could put a counter for that too. This next book is called Finders Keepers, A Tale of Archaeological Plunder and Obsession by Craig Childs. So, I'm not gonna lie, I came across this book a very long time ago. I was still using Book Outlet. I no longer use them anymore. I believe this was the last purchase I ever made from them. And because I just don't care for how they addressed or how they acted in regards to the lack of diversity in their book blogger program. I don't, but that's a whole thing for another day. Basically, hold on a second. It's basically about when archaeologists go too far, when they smuggle things, when they steal things, when they claim that this history belongs to them because they discovered it. And it's basically posing the question, does history belong to the people that find it or the people who it was for? Are we stealing it? And that's kind of what it is. Hence the word obsession. You know, they use it too. Should we add that to the counter? And so it was a very interesting read for me. I took an anthropology class in college, so I'm always down to learn about the world. Hence this next book. So this is about, this is called Traveling with Pomegranates, A Mother and Daughter Journey Across the Sacred Places of Greece, Turkey, and France by Sue Monk Kidd and Ann Kidd Taylor. I've read 2 of the, I believe, 4 books written by Sue Monk Kidd. I loved them. The other ones are on my list to read. I just haven't gotten to them yet. And basically, Sue takes a trip with her. It's basically her and her daughter talking about their time traveling together, and she's struggling to. I believe she's writing The Secret Life of Bees at this time, and it's about her figuring out how to pull that together, and then Anne is trying to figure out what to do with her life, and so they kind of take this journey and find answers to these questions, or they don't. I'm not sure. I haven't read with it. I'm assuming that at least Sue finds her answers because she's wrote that book and it's a very famous book. I feel like I'm talking fast. Am I talking fast? So this next one is basically another true crime. I know guys, I have a problem. But this one is not about Ted Bundy, I swear. It's about Charles Manson. It's called Hunting Charles Manson, The Quest for Justice in the Days of Helter Skelter by Liz Whale and Caitlin Rother. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that much about Charles Manson, which is why I picked this up. I thought that maybe it would give me a little more insight into who this person is. I'm hoping it's not as scarring as I think it's going to be. Oh my god, you guys, I am not even halfway through all of these books. I seriously need to get to reading. If only I would hurry up on my Harry Potter reread, and then I would, you know, start these. So the next book is, this is sort of a bookstore made me do it, sort of. I discovered it on the side of a bookstore that I really, really love. It's called 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, and it's a collection of stories edited by Ellen O. and Elsie Chapman. So basically, these are retellings of Asian myths and legends, and I love fairy tales, and it's got a very mythical fairy tale vibe to it, so I'm very much looking forward to reading that. I love a good retelling. Books are amazing. Storytellers, I am so grateful for all of you. I'm so grateful for all of the authors who exist out there in the world. Alright, I'm back. I had to get a new battery because the other one died. I've been filming for... I did not realize how many books I had on these cards. I really, really thought it was less than this. So next book is Conviction by Denise Mina. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what is going on in this book. I just really love the color and the color too, but the cover. The artwork is so beautiful. Hold on a second, let me refresh myself. So from what I understand, it's basically about a woman who, her husband decides he wants to leave her and she finds herself alone in the world. And she's basically throws herself into this podcast that she's obsessed with. And it turns out that she knows one of the victims from an earlier point in her life, and she thinks she knows what really happened. And then she gets drawn into the investigation, and she's sort of in the wake of her life, for lack of a better word, exploding. She gets pulled into this old world, and so that sounds really interesting to me. I don't know much more about it. When I read it, I'm sure I'll give you guys an update. Okay, so next book is another nonfiction. So this is The Body by Bill Bryson. I actually got it last Christmas. This is basically an in-depth book. You guessed it, the human body. It's all about how everything works and the makeup of it. And I am not much the scientific type, but I do enjoy learning about things. I love learning something new, and while I know some stuff, I do not know all stuff. I will never claim to know all stuff. Nobody tell my fiance. And so that was a book that I was really interested to read. It's a very, very big book, so I have a feeling it's going to be a real task to read that one. But guess what? That's not the only other nonfiction on my book. I think there's going to be at least 6 more by the time we get to the end of this. The next one is called The Nature of Life and Death, by Patricia Wiltshire. It says everybody leaves a trace, tales of a forensic ecologist. So it's basically about a woman who goes to crime scenes, and basically she finds overlooked clues that are overlooked by investigation into criminal activity, and she does so by examining plant life. And I believe she also works with hold on, let me look it up. Just kidding, it doesn't say, but I believe I heard that she also uses dirt particulates and things like that. And so that's really fascinating to me. It sort of feeds into my true crime obsession, but without being about a psychotic serial killer. So yeah, good news. The next books are much more pleasant. So this book is another Bookstagram made me do it. Actually, it was a book too, but specifically the Peruse Project. I love her channel. I was watching hers, and she was reading this last winter, and I found myself intrigued by it. It is A Winter's Promise by Christelle Davos. It is the first book in the Mirror Visitor, I want to say, series. I think there's now 3 books out. I'm gonna be honest, I have 0 idea what's going on in this book. I read the synopsis, and from basically I understand it, this girl has power to transport things through mirrors, and she has to travel to the city with her fiance, and it's a city where no one can be trusted, and it's a whole thing. But I've heard it's somebody described it to me as Les Mis meets a fairy tale. I don't know if that's true, but I'm gonna find out. I'm very intrigued. Oh, either I put the cover back on, or this is upside down. Hold on. Interesting. You guys, the desk sleeve was on upside down. I opened the book and everything was upside down, and I was so confused. But that's okay. I'm still so excited to read it. Also, up next is another person I grew up watching my whole childhood. I've already spoken about her once in another book. As you can probably tell, I admire her so much. I'm such a fan. The Sound of Music was my favorite movie as a kid. It is Julie Andrews' Homework. This is actually her second memoir. I read the first one, which is just called Home, a while back. I actually have a copy of it way up there on the top shelf. It was so interesting, and I loved getting to learn about someone who I admired so much for a long time in such a deeper level. I believe this is more specifically directed at her years in Hollywood. That last book focused on her growing up and how she got to Broadway and things like that. So I'm really excited to read this next book. And I believe it says Emma Walton Hamilton. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's her daughter. I could be very wrong. Hold on, let me check. Oh, it is her daughter. I wasn't wrong. That's so cool. Also, I have all the books stacked right here, as you could probably tell from how I'm just sort of pressing them right there. They're also spreading that way. But we finished the second stack, so we're getting closer. Sort of. Not really. So these next books, ooh, if I drop them, are sort of feed into my obsessions again. And these are books about my favorite thing in the world, one of my favorite places in the world, or no, it's my favorite place in the world, I'm not even gonna lie. It is Disneyland. So I have all 4 editions of Tales from the Haunted Mansion here. These, I guess, are like, they're little stories about the ghosts that live within the Haunted Mansion, and about, you know, who they are and why they are the happy haunts that live within those walls, and I'm really excited to read it. I love stuff like that. I also have this book called Self-Editing for Fiction Writers. As some of you may know or may not know, I can't remember if I've talked about it before now. I am a writer and I hope to someday publish a book, and at the moment I am leaning towards the concept of self-editing, but I'm not sure. I just would like to learn more about editing and how to be better at what I do. My perfectionist brain already keeps me from going past a couple chapters, but that's a whole other issue. Do you feel me, writers? So this book, Hannah's War, it's actually a book, I'm not even gonna lie, I picked it up while we were grocery shopping at Fred Meyer. But it's about a scientist who makes a discovery during the Second World War that she believes can end the rest of wars, and it gets sort of belittled and overlooked, and at one point it gets stolen from her. But then the other time period in the book that I believe it's sort of in, you know, hops back and forth, is basically these secrets have been being traded, and the investigator arrives in New Mexico to find her, and she is his top suspect. So it sort of hops around with that, and it's a matter of how far she's willing to go to make this knowledge, to put this knowledge into the right hands. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. This next book, it's funny because when Gypsy and I went to Barnes & Noble, which is a blog I'm not sure if you have read yet. Did I just say a blog you haven't read yet? Sorry, I'm spending too much time with my books. Worlds intersecting here. She actually got a copy of this, and I'm so excited to read it. It's basically hold on. She basically gets tangled with the Mayan gods, hence the gods of Jade and Shadow. And I love a good mythology story. I love a good story that takes place in another culture. I am all kinds of about this book. Sorry, was that abrasive? That was probably a little weird. I got a little too excited about that. But I have this book on here. She had this book, so I'm so excited to read it and compare notes because I love a good book conversation. So this next book is actually really cool to me. It is also from that book outlet order. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember which books are and are not, but I know this one specifically was from that last order. Like I said, I no longer do business with them. So basically, this book is called Warrior Woman, an archaeologist search for history's hidden heroines by Janine Davis Kimball, PhD, with Mona Behan. So basically, this woman travels around the world, and she wants to follow and research the tribes of women who are regarded as the world's greatest warriors. And so basically she does that, and she wants to find out the truth, which is cool. I'm always up for a good pursuit of a truth about the history of the world, especially warriors, because let's face it, women are awesome. Some of you guys are so amazing and strong, and I honestly, it's amazing to me, some of these cultures. So, again, feeding into my obsession with learning. So basically, from what I understand, this next book is basically about love. It is about love. It's a romance. I'm gonna look at the cover. It's called Our Stop. There's hearts all over it. But basically, from what I understand, the main character, she takes this away every morning. And she's kind of like just done with life. Until one day she gets this note from a guy, and it says, "To the cute girl with coffee stains on her dress, I'm the guy who's always standing by the door. Do you want to get a drink sometime?" And basically that is the beginning of their love story, and I don't know much about it, but I am hoping it is either one of those things where they keep missing each other and then they spontaneously meet someday. Again, I can't talk apparently. And then I'm hoping it's a good serendipitous love story. Okay, so I feel like I've been talking forever, and if you're still here, bless you. Thank you so much for watching this video and putting up with me and my awkwardness and the fact that I have never done this before. But I still have a pile here, which is off the top shelf of the cart. I still have a pile over there. So I think what I'm gonna do is just try to hurry through this last bit. And I'm gonna be honest, don't know much about many of the synopses, but hey, I'm intrigued to read them. So let's do this. Let's power through this. Alright, so next is Names for the Sea, Strangers in Iceland by Sarah Moss. It's basically about a woman who basically gets this opportunity and decides to abandon her life in Kent. I believe that's in England. And she goes to Iceland. And she meets all of these incredible people, and it's basically about that year that she takes. And then, again, my very fascinating with the world words that don't make sense. The next book is called Swimming to Antarctica. I am not much of a sports person, but this sounds like it would be such an insane journey, and you know about me, I'm all about a good journey. Or you don't. You probably know me by this point. But this is our first meeting. Okay, after that, another romance. I'm gonna be honest, most of these books are booktube or Bookstagram made me do it. So this one's called I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella. I know nothing about it, but it looks like it's gonna be a good read. So here's hoping. Again, another nonfiction. So this is called Escape from Camp 14, One Man's Remarkable Odyssey from North Korea to Freedom in the West. Title tells you it all. I have a feeling it's going to be a very intense read, a very sad read, but also, again, I want to know more about this world that I live in. Speaking of which, I'm finally going to read Barracoon by Zora Neale Thurston. I actually have a coworker who I once bought a copy of this for, and she told me it was so good, and she was telling me all these facts about the author, and I was like, I have to read this. I just have never gotten around to it. So I bought this book because I am so excited about it. It's called technically it's called Barracoon, the Story of the Last Black Cargo. And I have a feeling that it's going to be another heavy read, but also one that I'm going to be so grateful that I read when I'm done. This next book is very out of the norm for me. It is called The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad. I have never been a huge, super deep fantasy kind of girl, but I have read a few that I thought were amazing, and then I looked at this cover and I was like, this is beautiful. Look at it, guys. And I had to get it, and the person at the bookstore that I like to shop from, Beach Books, is a bookstore, independently owned bookstore in Seaside, Oregon, she was telling me how amazing it was and how excited she was to read it. So I decided I've got to. Also, hey, more love stories. So this is Love Unscripted by Owen Nichols. This is basically, oh no, it ripped. Sad day. Sorry, I'm back. Basically it's about this couple who breaks up, and I guess it's because he was too invested in his work and not the relationship, and he's kind of a film buff, and so it's basically about his story that he's determined to get her back. I'm not gonna lie, the thing that drew me to this was the fact that it was Love Unscripted. My fiance, as you may know, is a huge movie buff, so I don't know, I'm always a sucker for a good romance with a movie buff in it. I personally, though biased, think those guys are the greatest. This book is Hungry Hearts, which is a collection of 13 Tales of Food and Love, which, who doesn't? I like food, I like love. Sounds like a good book to me. I'm really excited to read this one. Also, speaking of things I like, remember how I said I was obsessed with reality TV? So reality competition TV is involved in that. I really like Derek Huff. I have followed him for a while. I originally discovered him on Dancing with the Stars. I like his music. Him and his girlfriend are super cute. But this is his book called Taking the Lead, Lessons from a Life in Motion. So I'm really excited to read that. I know it was written a while ago, but still, like, I'm so excited. Alright, so I've got a few more nonfictions, but before I get to that, I have one book that you probably know very well. It's another book that I want to read before I see the movie. It's Bird Box by Josh Malerman. As you know, it is a horror movie on Netflix starring Sandra Bullock. Love her. But again, I like to read the book before I see the movie, so that's why I picked that one up. I don't know much about it. I know that there are these creatures that if you see them, you will die, or something like that. It's a whole thing. It's very interesting. But hey, I've got a few more nonfictions for you, as if you didn't have enough already. So first I have Out of Thin Air, A True Story of Impossible Murder in Iceland by Anthony Adain. I forget where I heard about this one, but again, I think it was the fact that it was Iceland that intrigued me, because I just have an interest in other countries. The murder thing also piqued my interest because, you know, true crime buff. And then I also have Around the World in 50 Years, My Adventure to Every Country on Earth by Albert Podell. This sounds so fun to me. I like traveling. I would love to see as many countries as possible in my lifetime. So, I'm all about that. Hopefully it takes not more than 50 years. Otherwise, I am very behind. Next I have Paul Theroux, Figures in a Landscape. I'm not sure which one this is about. Hold on. So from what I understand, this is basically a collection of essays about sights and sounds that he's seen along his travels. Which, hey, sounds good to me. Also, this next one is called Breaking Free, How I Escaped Polygamy, the FLDS Cult, and My Father Warren Jeffs. So I actually watched the book series. I watched the TV series Escaping Polygamy, which I believe is about the same family. And I remember being very interested in that, and it was all so crazy to me, and I just really wanted to read the book. I thought maybe it would offer a little more knowledge than I had, because, you know, always love to learn more. Okay, so these next two books I'm so excited about. These are the first two advanced reader copies I have ever had. The owner of that bookstore I mentioned, Beach Books, was kind enough to send them to me when I had a purchase. I believe they're both out now, but that's fine. So the first one is Tigers Not Daughters by Samantha Mabry. Let's see, when was it released? I believe this one came out in June. So I was so excited to read that. One, cover is beautiful. Also, it's another story of escape. And it's sort of I don't know that they're trapped, but I think that there's a very big kept from the outside world element, which I'm very intrigued by. And the next one is called The Mall by Megan McCafferty. I believe that's how you say it. There's not much description on this. Oh, it's on the inside. See, I'm new to this. Basically, it's about a girl who has her whole life together. She knows how it's going to work out the summer before college, and then it doesn't go that way, which always makes for a very entertaining story. Very interesting journey. I'm excited to read that one. That one's a little out of my range. I'm not very... I almost said hip to the lingo. Wow, I'm not that old, but that makes me feel old. I'm just not big on the whole malls type books. It's just a thing. I'm not. But hey, we finally finished the cart. We can get to the pile over here. We're almost done, I swear. Okay, so this first pile is all books that I found at a garage sale I went to recently with Josh and his mom and his grandma. I don't know why I forgot the word there. They had this whole table, and I think they were like 50 cents a piece, and let's face it, who's gonna turn out books for that price? So the first one is Selkirk's Island, The True Strange Adventures of the Real Robinson Crusoe. Very interested in reading that. And then this next one seems very, very interesting. It's Piers Anthony Out of Phase. Seems like a very fantastical thing. Oh, it's the 4th in a series. That means I have to buy more books. That's both a gift and a curse. Alright, so the next one is called A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. Same author of The Body. I believe this was the first book he ever wrote. It has amazing reviews, and I've been on the fence about whether or not to read it for a while, but I found it for $1. I figure, why not? This next one is called See No Evil, The True Story of a Ground Soldier in the CIA's War on Terrorism, by Robert Baer. Again, I don't really know much about what this is about, but we'll find out. It seems very interesting to me. So, contrary to what the sticker says, I found this at the garage sale too. It was only $1. But it still has the sticker on it, and I'm gonna guess they bought it at Fred Meyer. But it's called The Boys in the Boat, 9 Americans in Their Epic Quest for Gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics by Daniel James Brown. That just sounds cool to me. And this next one, again, love some international info. But this is called Midnight in Sicily by Peter Robb. It's kind of a crime meets travel sort of novel, and I believe it is nonfiction. So that's cool. I'm intrigued to read that. Okay, so the thing is that, as you have heard throughout this, as is evidenced by my t-shirt, I'm a very big fan of the Harry Potter world, which is what got me into the idea of reading this series. I discovered it when I went to Powell's in Portland. It is the Nicholas Flamel series. I don't have all the books. I need to get more. But basically, it's a story based off the works of Nicholas Flamel, who, as you may or may not know, created the Sorcerer's Stone. Pretty famous guy there. His world could be very, very interesting. Home stretch, guys, I promise. So I also have another incomplete series, which is the Arthur Pendragon series. I don't have all the books, which is fine. I just go to the used bookstore and I can buy the rest of them. But I remember reading a couple of these in school and being very, very into them. So that's why I want to read them again. See if you know the magic's still there. Alright, so these books that I'm about to do next are the 2 books that I picked up when I went to the bookstore with Gypsy. Again, in a vlog you either have or have not seen. I haven't decided yet when the placement's going to take place. But one is The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi. I believe it's a very fantastical book. And The Last Negroes at Harvard by Kent Garrett, which I'm very interested by. Are we having fun yet, guys? I swear I'm trying to hurry. I know you've been here for a long time. Thank you so much for watching. Alright, so next I have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I read The Night Circus and absolutely loved it, so I decided to pick this up. But then when I was at the bookstore the other day, I saw a paperback copy, which is fine. This copy is just as beautiful. I just personally prefer paperbacks. And then I have A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is the first of I believe it's a trilogy by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first Sarah J. Maas I have ever picked up. I have not read it yet. I've heard amazing things. I cannot wait to read it. So then I have a Marie Kondo book called Joy at Work, Organizing Your Professional Life. I really loved her Netflix series. I did not read her first book. I'm interested in this, as you probably guessed because I bought it. And then next I have a Jenny Colgan book called 500 Miles from You. And I believe this is half travel novel, half romance, which is right up my alley. And then next I have The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I want to say this is sort of a historical fiction fantasy type book. But look at the cover, isn't it so pretty? And then I have Catfish and Mandala, The Two-Wheeled Voyage Through the Landscape and Memory of Vietnam by Andrew X. Pham. Again, I love knowing people's stories. So. And then oh, we're down to the last 2. Okay, so the Bar Harbor Retirement Home for Famous Writers and Their Muses. That sounds for a recipe for scandal, books, and intrigue. The greatest things ever. Oh, I was trying to be cool and I just knocked a pile of books over. And then this next book is called The Science of Harry Potter. I'm guessing basically it's how certain elements of the Harry Potter world would exist in the real world. Oh my gosh, that's it. That's all the books. I don't know what to do now. Also, I should just say, I'm not sure if I'm going to read this one yet. I can't decide. I'm very indifferent. I think I got it for like $2. I finished all the books, guys. I finished all the books. What a crazy amount of reading I have to do. Anyways, I did just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you are still here, thank you for putting up with my awkwardness. I hope that my next bookish video is a little bit more well qualified. Like I said, I'm new at this whole thing. But please return for more bookish videos. And check out the other videos on our channel. We'll post every day, or at least that's the plan. And I'm so excited that I get to share my bookish love with all of you. Anyways, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Let me know in the comments what you would and would not like to see in terms of bookish videos. I'm always looking for suggestions. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye!